is hydration. As it's getting warmer out, I thought this would be a great topic. Um, and at first I thought I played around with the title for quite a while. Was driving myself crazy. My first working topic was beat the heat because we're getting ready to go into summer and hydration is really important in the summer. And then I was looking a little more about what I was going to talk about. And then it came to me. When you look at some of the things that water does in our body, it really is the fountain of youth. So our title for today is Hydration, the Real Fountain of Youth. And we'd all love to end up like these, be like these kids, youthful, and they look like they're loving their water. And we're going to talk about why water is so important for all of us. Get it to move. There we go. So what does water do in the human body? It has many roles. It regulates body temperature, it moistens our tissues, it lubricates our joints, it helps to flush out waste, and it carries nutrients to our cells, and it protects our organs. And I love this picture because, well, I don't love it because I think the woman looks like she's in pain, but it's a great illustration of how important adequate hydration is in things like lubricating our joints. And when you look at this list, a lot of them would appear on what are common complaints as we age. We feel like our tissues aren't as moist. It's harder to regulate our body temperature. We're not as efficient at flushing out our waste. So if we could keep ourselves adequately hydrated, we may be able to keep some of the signs of aging to a minimum. And that's what we all would like to do, I think. When you look at water in the body and what it makes up as our body weight, some of these might surprise you. I don't think blood surprises anybody, that 92% of our blood is made up of water. That seems pretty evident because it's a fluid. But when you look at things like bones, bones actually are 22% water, and our muscles are 75% water. So when we're not getting enough fluid, they don't work as well as they should, and they may hurt more. And then you look at our brain. Our brain, the most important organ of all, is 75% water. And our brain does sort of resemble a sponge, and we want that sponge to be full of fluid, not dried out and shrunken in on itself in order to have it work as efficiently as possible. And we know that the percentage of water our body decreases over time. And this picture is a good illustration. Infants, 75% are water. Children, 65. An adult woman is 55, and a male is 60%. Now you may wonder, what is that? Why is there a discrepancy between men and women? Because there's always a discrepancy. Women, because we have a higher fat content, have less water weight than men who have a higher muscle mass. And that's what gives them a little more fluid. But even as men age, this decreases. A 70-year-old man and a 30-year-old man, this compares. They're each 70 kilos. The 30-year-old man is 60% water, but the 70-year-old man is only 50%. So it continues to decline, for various reasons. Muscle mass decreases in general as we age, and fat deposits tend to increase. That's just a fact, but we also tend not to drink as well. So we want to do what we can to avoid that. So why water is so important? We all have heard the term dehydration, which is simply a loss of water. And we know that people as they age are more likely to become dehydrated. And this is a true risk factor. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Our bodies are less able to conserve water. Our sense of thirst isn't as acute, and we're less able to respond to changes in temperature. And what this leads to is an increased risk for dehydration. And it's estimated that up to 30% of older adults may experience dehydration, and up to 90% of all older adults that are hospitalized are dehydrated at the time they're admitted. So it's a huge risk factor. So we want to try to minimize that. And as we talked about a little earlier about our brain, and we want to that when you're less hydrated, more dehydrated, we have increases in fatigue, increases in headache, and we have a decreased sense of happiness and vigor. So all things we want to avoid. So what can we do? We can get in the habit of adequately hydrating, and it really is a habit. Because as we talked about already, our sense of thirst doesn't work very well. So we almost have to regulate and set a clock to how much we're consuming. And a great way to do that is to carry, like this shows, a water bottle or have a schedule. I love this water bottle because it shows what you should be drinking at all times during the day, and just having that with you so you can track where you are in your hydration. Now I'm just going to get on my soapbox for just a second on the next slide. And I know most of you will agree with me. We all want to save the earth, and we all know want to be environmentally friendly. So I'm not encouraging the use of bottled water. Bottled water, when it comes in a plastic bottle like this, is not the way we should be consuming water. This is great if you're on the go and you don't have a choice, by all means, bottled water. But if you can plan ahead and use a reusable water bottle, that would be preferred, because the statistics are just terrible about what water bottles are doing to the oceans and landfills. So that's my 5-second commercial for the environment. Okay. Moving on, though, we can carry a refillable water bottle. They come in all kinds of sizes, makes. Metal ones are really great because they keep things really cold. They're a great way. You can carry them with you so they don't spill because you got a lid. But our goal is going to be, we want to consume 64 ounces of fluid in a day. Doesn't all have to be water, but it's a great way to keep track of how much fluid you've consumed in the day. Now you may say, water is boring. I don't like, I often get that people either really like water and they're fine with drinking it, or they're like, oh, it's kind of bland. It doesn't excite me, doesn't have any flavor. So a way to fix that is to use infused water. They're easy to make. You can buy an infuser and keep it in your fridge. I've provided some recipes and I can send them to you. I'll send them to David so he can disperse them. They're easy to do. They make the water taste good and imaginative. It keeps it interesting. It was great when we were able to do the infused water. Culinary was doing that for the last couple of summers. Unfortunately, with COVID, we had to stop that. I'm hoping at some point we can revisit that. But these are some great ideas. The strawberry and basil and lime, I've got to tell you, is wonderful. And if you don't want to go out and get an infuser, you can use a mason jar and just put the items in there, fill it with water, put it in the fridge, and then anytime you want to take it with you, just pour it into your water bottle and you're good to go. You can choose hydrating snacks. A lot of things that we eat are very high in water, like watermelon. That's not surprising, 96%. Cucumbers, lettuce, tomatoes, fruits, grapefruits, 90%. Blueberries are 95%. Not surprising that what a dietitian would be pushing are fruits and vegetables, but fruits and vegetables are going to be really good for us as far as hydrating. And then I just want to give a couple other tips of how to tell how your hydration is doing. First and foremost, don't wait until you're thirsty to start drinking water or drinking anything, because by the time thirst kicks in, at that point, you may already be fluid depleted, because as we age, our sense of thirst diminishes, and it starts from an early age. You always know, if you spend any time around small children, they're thirsty all the time. They always want to drink a water. That's because their sense of thirst is very attuned and it works well. But the older they get, that our sense diminishes for this. Another sign is looking at for proper hydration is looking at your urine color. Just taking a quick peek. You want to make sure that it's a pale yellow, a light yellow. When it starts getting bright yellow or amber, you're dehydrated. You're not taking in enough fluid. So you want to make sure you can rectify that and get adequate hydration in. Limiting our alcohol intake. For men, that's going to be 2 drinks per day. For women, 1. And I think the reason that they really want to talk about this is often people think that drinking things like a cold beer is hydrating, and it's not. It actually is pulling it's a diuretic, and it's going to pull fluid off. We want to minimize our number of beverages that with caffeine. There's always a great debate. Is coffee going to dehydrate me? Can I count that as a fluid? The answer is yes and no. You can consume a maximum of 40 milligrams of caffeine a day is recommended. So 1 cup of coffee is 95 milligrams of coffee, and a cup of black tea is 26. So you can have a couple of cups of coffee and not be in any danger of dehydrating yourself. And you can actually count that as some fluid. But when you get beyond that 400 milligrams, then it really starts to act more as a diuretic, and you want to minimize and make sure you're getting enough fluid. Okay. So that's really hydration in a